Good morning and welcome to what has quickly become the most talked about first-round match in the entire Middle East swing. The tennis world is watching closely today, and for good reason. This is not just a tennis match. This is a collision of two stories, two nations, and two players who both have everything to prove. We are covering the 2026 Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open, and today's round of 32 match feels like anything but a first round. On one side, the Filipino phenomenon Alexandra Eala, 20 years old, already a top 50 player, already a giant killer. A left-handed baseline force with a forehand that finds the lines and a hunger that has lit up millions of fans back home in Manila. She is no longer a wild card hoping for an upset. She is a legitimate contender who opponents take seriously. On the other side, a name that has taken the tennis world completely by surprise. Zeynep Sönmez, the Turkish trailblazer. If you have not been paying attention to Sonmez over the last 3 weeks, today is your wake-up call. She just came off a historic run at the Australian Open where she became the first player from Turkey ever to reach the third round of a Grand Slam in the Open era. She is gritty, relentless, and she has arrived in Abu Dhabi with serious momentum and a clear point to make. Her rise is not a fluke. It is the beginning of something real. The headline is straightforward: Eala versus Sonmez. But the story behind it is much bigger than a first-round result. This match represents exactly what is happening across the WTA Tour right now. For years the spotlight fell on the traditional powers, American players, Czech players, Russian players. But today we are watching the new frontier. Two players from nations that have been waiting for a moment like this. Eala versus Sonmez is a battle for regional pride, for momentum heading into the Middle East swing, and for proof that the map of women's tennis is being redrawn in real time. The Zayed Sports City International Tennis Center is buzzing today. The hard courts are fast. The conditions are demanding. And these two players have history. Eala leads their head-to-head 2-0, beating Sonmez at the Eastbourne qualifiers and again in Linz. On paper, the numbers favor the Filipino. But tennis is not played on paper. It is played on instinct, on form, and on confidence. And right now Sonmez is carrying a level of belief she has never had before. She has tasted Grand Slam success. She has cracked the top 100. She is not walking onto this court as the underdog she was in Eastbourne. She is walking on as a player who just went toe-to-toe with the best in Melbourne. So the question today is simple. Can Eala use her lefty spin and baseline control to disrupt Sonmez the way she has before? Or will the Turkish momentum prove too strong and send the Filipino star out early? The betting markets are split. The pundits are divided. Social media is already a battleground of flags, red and white versus blue, red and yellow. That is the beauty of this sport. One-on-one. No timeouts, no teammates. Just two young women, two rackets, and a yellow ball in the desert heat. We are going deep today. We will break down the technical improvements in Eala's serve that pushed her into the top 50. We will analyze Sonmez's defensive ability and why it gives power hitters so many problems. We will look at the court speed here in Abu Dhabi and who it favors. We will cover the stakes, the rankings, and the emotional weight sitting on both sides of this net. Clear your schedule. This is the full, here's a longer, more detailed version. Good morning and welcome to what has rapidly become the most talked about opening round clash in the entire Middle East swing. The tennis world is holding its breath today, and once you understand the full weight of what is sitting on both sides of this net, you will understand exactly why. This is not simply a tennis match. This is a collision of two remarkable stories, two proud nations, and two young players who have both spent their entire careers being told to wait their turn, only to arrive at this moment ready to announce that their time is right now. We are covering the 2026 Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open, and today's round of 32 draw feels like anything but a routine first round. The atmosphere inside the Zayed Sports City International Tennis Center this morning carries the kind of energy that usually belongs to a semi-final. There is something in the air here that every experienced tennis observer recognizes immediately. This one matters. On one side of the net, the Filipino phenomenon Alexandra Eala, 20 years old, already a top 50 player, already one of the most recognizable names in the sport. A left-handed baseline force with a forehand that finds the lines under pressure, and a level of competitive hunger that has electrified millions of fans back home in Manila and across the entire Filipino diaspora spread around the globe. She entered this sport as a wild card hoping for upsets. She is no longer that player. She is a legitimate, fully established contender that top players actively study in the draw and hope to avoid in the early rounds. She has beaten Grand Slam champions. She has created atmospheres at outer courts that looked like World Cup finals. She has done things no Filipino player in the history of professional tennis has ever done. And she is still only 20 years old. On the other side, a name that has caught the tennis world almost completely off guard over the last 3 weeks. Zeynep Sönmez, the Turkish trailblazer. If you have not been paying close attention to what Sonmez has been doing recently, today is your moment to catch up because the player stepping onto this court is not the same player many of you watched 6 months ago. She just completed a historic run at the Australian Open in Melbourne, where she became the first player from Turkey ever to reach the third round of a Grand Slam in the entire Open era. Read that again. First ever. In a country with a deep and passionate sporting culture, no player had ever gone that far at a major until Sonmez did it in January 2026. She is gritty and relentless in a way that makes her deeply uncomfortable to play against. She scrambles. She retrieves. She makes you hit one more ball than you want to. And she has arrived here in Abu Dhabi with a level of momentum and self-belief that she has simply never possessed before in her professional career. Her message is clear. What happened in Melbourne was not a lucky week. It was the opening chapter of something much bigger. The headline today writes itself. Eala versus Sonmez. The pride of the Philippines against the Turkish trailblazer. But the story sitting underneath that headline is considerably larger than any first-round result. This match is a live, breathing representation of exactly what is happening across the WTA Tour right now in real time. For years, the conversation about women's tennis has been dominated by players from a handful of countries. American players, Czech players, Russian players. The same nations producing the same kind of champions in the same familiar pattern. But today we are watching the new frontier of the sport unfold right in front of us. Two players from nations that have been hungry for a global superstar for a very long time. Two players who are not playing for ranking points alone but for something that feels considerably larger than that. Eala versus Sonmez is a battle for regional pride, for momentum heading into the demanding Middle East swing, and for proof to the entire sport that the map of women's tennis is being redrawn with every single match these players win. The hard courts here in Abu Dhabi are fast. The conditions are unforgiving. The desert heat adds a physical dimension to every rally that separates the mentally tough from the mentally fragile. And these two players carry a head-to-head history into this contest that gives the match an additional layer of meaning. Eala leads their previous meetings 2-0, having beaten Sonmez at the Eastbourne qualifiers and again in Linz. On paper, the metrics and the history point clearly toward the Filipino. On paper, Eala is the favorite and most serious analysts would agree. But tennis is not played on paper. It never has been. It is played on instinct, on current form, on the confidence surging through a player's body in the moments that matter most. And the critical variable in this particular equation is that Zeynep Sönmez has never in her professional career walked onto a court carrying the confidence she possesses at this exact moment. She has tasted Grand Slam success at the highest level. She has broken through the top 100 barrier. She is not the underdog who showed up in Eastbourne hoping to steal a match. She is a player who stood toe-to-toe with the best competition in the world in Melbourne and proved she belonged there. That transformation in self-belief is not a small thing. In a sport decided so often by margins measured in millimeters and milliseconds, a player who suddenly believes she can win changes everything about how she competes. So the central question hovering over this match today is deceptively simple. Can Eala deploy her lefty spin, her tactical intelligence, and her baseline control to disrupt Sonmez the way she has managed to do in their previous encounters? Can she use the advantages her unorthodox left-handed game creates to keep Sonmez uncomfortable and prevent her from settling into the defensive rhythm that has made her so difficult to break down? Or has the momentum coming out of Melbourne transformed Sonmez into a different and more dangerous player than the one Eala has beaten before? Will the Turkish surge continue right here in the Abu Dhabi desert and send the Filipino star home earlier than anyone expected? The betting markets are genuinely split on this one. The pundits are divided. And social media has already turned into a full digital war of flags and predictions, red and white on one side, blue, red, and yellow on the other. The passion pouring into this match from both fan bases before a single ball has been struck tells you everything you need to know about what it means to the people following it. That is the beauty of this sport in its purest form. One-on-one. No timeouts. No teammates to share the burden. No coaches allowed during the points. Just two young women, two rackets, and a yellow ball being struck back and forth across a net in the desert heat, fighting for something that matters deeply to both of them and to the millions of people watching from thousands of miles away. We are going deep today. Deeper than anyone else is willing to go on this match. We will break down the specific technical improvements in Eala's serve that have been central to her climb into the top 50, and why they make her a fundamentally more dangerous player than she was 12 months ago. We will analyze Sonmez's unique defensive scrambling ability in detail, examining exactly why it frustrates power hitters and what Eala will need to do differently to break through it. We will look carefully at the court speed here in Abu Dhabi and build a clear case for which player those conditions favor. We will discuss the ranking implications, the wildcard status, and the full emotional weight pressing down on both sides of this net today. Clear your schedule. Cancel whatever you had planned. For the next hour, we are living inside the baseline together. The pattern that defines Alexandra Eala. Alexandra Eala's favorite play is pure left-handed artistry. That slider serve out wide on the ad court. It drags her opponent completely off the doubles alley. And the very next shot, a heavy ripping forehand into the open court, finishes the job. It's the classic lefty blueprint made famous by players like Rafael Nadal, and Eala executes it with stunning precision. When that combination clicks, it's nearly impossible to defend. The 2025 breakthrough season, her rise wasn't hype. It was earned. Breaking into the top 50 in 2025 wasn't just about ranking points, it was about how she did it. At the Miami Open, she powered her way to the semifinals, standing toe-to-toe with elite power hitters. She proved she can absorb pace, redirect it, and counter with her own. Physically, she's stronger. Her serve now regularly clocks between 170 to 180 kilometers per hour. Her court positioning is bolder. And mentally, she's tougher in the pressure moments. But no player is flawless. Under extreme stress, her ball toss can drift. When that lefty serve loses rhythm, double faults creep in. And against flat, early ball strikers who rush her time, she can be forced slightly out of her comfort zone. That's where this matchup gets fascinating. The Turkish surge. Zeynep Sönmez. If Eala is the rising prodigy expected to be here, Zeynep Sönmez is the fighter who forced her way into the spotlight. At 23, she's entering her physical prime, and she just delivered the biggest moment of her career. The Australian Open statement. At the Australian Open, she made history for Turkish tennis. Reaching the third round might sound modest on paper. On court, it's a battlefield. She defeated top 50 caliber opponents. She survived Melbourne's suffocating heat. She handled sudden national attention back home. That kind of run doesn't just build confidence. It erases doubt. When she steps onto court at the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open, she isn't hoping to compete. She believes she belongs. And that belief is dangerous. Sonmez playing identity right-handed. Two-handed backhand. Built on movement and resilience. She's a counterpuncher who thrives on extending rallies. Against an aggressor like Eala, she'll aim to become a wall, absorbing lefty spin and redirecting it flat down the line. Her backhand is her shield. Recently, though, she's added something new: controlled aggression. Her title run at the Merida Open in late 2024 showed she can close tournaments. She's not just surviving matches anymore, she's finishing them. And that changes everything. Head-to-head context, they've met twice. Eala won both. Eastbourne Qualifiers 2024. Grass 6-1, 6-3 Nantes 2023. Indoor hard 7-6, 6-4 grass clearly favored Eala's lefty slice and skidding patterns. Indoor hard was tighter, and that 7-6 set tells us something important. Sonmez can push her. But here's the twist. The Sonmez of today isn't the same player from 2023. Momentum rewrites narratives. Tactical blueprint for Alexandra Eala. Dictate with the forehand. Target Sonmez's backhand corner and change direction early. Serve smart, not just big. The wide slider in Abu Dhabi's quick conditions is gold. Finish at net. When she opens the court, she must move forward and close points. Control emotions. Long grinding games will happen, she must stay composed. For Zeynep Sönmez, attack Eala's backhand repeatedly. Make her defend. Hit a high first serve percentage. 65% plus. Avoid giving Eala second serve looks. Make it physical. Extend rallies. Test Eala's legs in the desert heat. Use variation. Drop shots could disrupt Eala's baseline positioning. Why this match matters. This isn't just about rankings. It's about global tennis evolution. A Philippines versus Turkey clash in a WTA 500 main draw would have seemed unlikely 2 decades ago. Now it's prime time viewing. For the Philippines, an Eala win strengthens her push toward seeding at Roland Garros and reinforces Southeast Asia's growing tennis influence. For Turkey, a Sonmez upset validates her Australian Open breakthrough and inspires a new generation. This is sport expanding its map in real time. Final prediction: expect intensity. Eala likely comes out firing, using her power and patterns to grab the first set. But Sonmez will grind, stretch points, and drag this into uncomfortable territory. If it goes 3 sets, margins shrink to millimeters. Big points, second serves, 1 loose forehand, 1 fearless return. Experience in pressure moments might give Eala the slight edge. But tennis has a beautiful rule. Nothing is decided until the final ball lands. The stage is set at the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open. Philippines versus Turkey. Spin versus resistance. Momentum versus belief. Strap in, this one could go the distance.